will reduce if it's exposed directly to sunlight. That's the main reason. Third is always rotate crops. And don't tell me that you're rotating crops by growing cotton and soybean. Cotton, soybean. That's not rotation of crops. You have to change the pattern because the soil has to get different nutrients from different things you have to do. Only this, I think, we start, all of you learn this very simple principle. India has very less, 4% around. I think conservation agriculture land. Throughout the world also a bit less, 9% or something. But I think this is what if you, different names are given: traditional farming, natural farming, organic farming, regenerative farming, conservation agriculture. But you see, when you're sick, you don't have to take medicine. But you must know when you're sick. So we must find out whether soil health is bad first. Then take that much of nutrient required, that much fertilizer only. That is implementable in India. If you do that, I'm very sure with less fertilizer usage, I don't think without any fertilizer you can do that. Agriculture. It's not, if you're a sick man, you will die. You will not, you have to come back. So that facility must be there. At the same time, use what do you call, sensibly all the inputs required. Don't waste them. Be efficient. India will become a global food ball. Thank you for the opportunity. I will give you can scan this and get the whole presentation also. It's available. You can view and also check the line. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. And I would like to say that if anyone have any question, so they can write down on the chat box. So there is one question from my side, and please check the chat box.
Yes, I think the very first we have to give importance to farm mechanization. Tractorization is not mechanization. Okay, so we have to push the institutes to bring the mechanization to happen in those activities where the farm labor is expensive or not available. Like crop wise, we have to select number one first. Crop wise, we have to work. We cannot have a general strategy. Number two, we have to grow crops in a cluster basis. This is what actually horticulture department are also doing, trying to grow in clusters. You cannot grow banana in one plot and try to sell it outside. You have to see the whole cluster of the horticultural crops when you want to grow. This is very important actually. And food production, no need to increase much. Actually, what I'm saying, I know the people in the top level also know 15%, everybody is willing to forego the food, less produce. The idea is not we have enough food. The problem is the soil is bad, farmers are not getting enough income. This is the main issue. Otherwise, see, our productivity is very less compared to Western countries. Till now, even rice and wheat also very less. We can improve it. Because, for example, we don't have any mechanization at all. Weeding is the biggest, most expensive in India. We don't use that much equipment for the weeding till now. So these are all some of the areas. Mechanization, improve it on it, work together for crop wise, and even for example, seed production also. Seed is a big problem. We have non-germination of seed issues. So there's a seed production that's also imported now. The facilities of 10 crores, something like that. So that all has to be done in India. So that is how. Domestic food security, fair income for farmers. This is excellent. I think once, see, first of all, I remember long back, it's about 40 years back. In Germany, they say they consume what they produce 50%, 55% inside. Okay, even Japanese also. So I don't think the first part of the question is no problem. India will first keep the food security. We are actually overprotective sometimes. So we try to allow uh, imports, suddenly ban the imports. These are all like sometimes it's really. I think these guys are not putting their mind. The who make the decisions like this. Unfortunately, it is. I remember long back, 4 5 years back, there was a problem in storage of sugarcane, sugar, main sugar. They put this called last in, first out was the problem. The old stock, which is 5 years old, still lying in the backside. This was the problem in storage godown. This was talked to none other than one of the biggest institutes which supporting. So that is not a problem actually. Zero tillage of vegetables, yes, of course you can. Wait a minute, let me go through. So domestic food security is not a problem. Income for the farmers actually is, we should be able to give more price to the farm produce. Right now, we have a lot of last mile delivery food chains started. I think because of the policies of the problem, government policies blocking import everything. I think they also learning now. I think we hope now people have started really thinking with so long. I think this government is trying to think bit more better now. Like everybody learns in the process of last 10 years, and they are trying to. I think it will come through probably by changes to policies like subsidies killing. See, subsidy is given to fertilizer companies. Okay, so they have to dump it, whatever it may be. Of course, it's after giving to farmer only. But think about it, pesticide. Everybody gets from subsidy from government. Machinery manufacturer gets subsidy from government. And a farmer doesn't get anything. What I am telling is that concept has to come when the farmer can uh, get his services. Because he need not buy a tractor. Okay, he need not buy something to harvester. Okay, now also it's happening, for example, in paddy harvest, wheat harvest. Similar we should get for small farmers also to go for it. So you must give subsidy for it. Now, very insight sessions, how to practice conservation agriculture. Very simple. Don't disturb the soil very much, as you told, and put something to grow on the crop, on the soil. Don't leave it barren. That normally you want to do vegetables are very good. In vegetable in between, you do intercropping, for example. A lot of intercropping can be done. And see, zero tillage means it's not zero tillage, minimal tillage. Let's not talk about zero. Like I think the agriculture, I recall the DJ was speaking 3 days back. In agriculture, there's nothing called bad or good. Okay, but you have to know be wise enough to understand what the soil and requires to growth. So in that only, I think there is no issue on that conservation agriculture. You can grow it. Zero tillage not required. You can have minimal tillage, minimum disturbance is okay. Not don't believe that disturbing soil turning around will produce more. That is wrong. Demand for smart electronics agriculture is very important. Like I told you, what I showed you the last one, which first time I'm showing what I made. I think it's very important. The electronics is important. For example, the water I made, but it's not come out because the institute didn't bring it out. AWD is something called alternate wetting and drying system. You can save 30% of water in paddy, any paddy field, okay, even flood irrigation. A small pipe to be done. We'll talk about some other time, all these things, they are available. So usage of tillage is, sir, is over usage of tillage is good for, no, very bad. Any tillage is bad, disturbing. Okay, so anybody fingering you, you won't like it. So that's how the soil also feels. India, majority farmers, small marginal did mechanization. No, it's not mechanization. What I'm talking about, simple, yeah. Small farmers grow cotton. See, India, think one more thing. Small farmers only produce so much food compared to big farmers. When you see the statistics of the how much produced by small farmers suffer because of cotton. You go in Maharashtra and see many farms didn't pick up the cotton because picking is very expensive. They leave it on the field. Soybean, they don't harvest, they leave it on the field. And that is not going to help because they don't get labor very expensive. That's the reason we need equipment to harvest. We need equipment to store. That's what I mean. Mechanization, okay. But they cannot buy the machines. So what I say is somebody buys, now we have already system of renting, you can rent and all. It is undergoing, still started recently only. what do you call custom hiring centers. They have their own problems, but it'll come. But they also need money. For they also get only wants to purchase equipment, not to upgrade, nothing. So the whole system of subsidy must change, and that has been now put in from different forums, been put to government. I hope they will work on it. That's the only chance will come. Till the time, cooperatives are important. Farmers, one problem in India, most of the farmers, they don't like neighbors. The neighbor, they don't talk good with neighbors. This is another problem we have. We have to get through whichever some villages are very good. Farmers are united. I saw in Baroda one farm, uh, 10 villages, they're pumping from 5 kilometers water to the banana field. All five share it. And then they have problem of automatic irrigation because expensive. Conservation farm increase the income of course it will. Of course it will, because you don't use fertilizers. Your fertilizers will reduce drastically. I think if you read through it, after second year, I think you'll reduce around 20 to 30% of fertilizers straight away. And afterwards, it's much more because you put the humus back into the soil, whatever is there. So, thank you. I think I finished with it. I think a bit 5 minutes late. Any more
Yes, sir.
questions?
Yes,
No
sir.
problem. Yeah.
Yes, actually, you have also shared the mail ID of yours. So anyone wants to connect with you, they can
Yes,
also
yes.
connect on the mail ID, I
Thank
guess.
you.
And thank you so much, sir, for joining us on this esteemed platform and for delivering such thought-provoking and insightful talk on can India be a global food bowl? Your reflections on Indian agriculture strengths, food security potential, and sustainability, global responsibility, and the importance of modern agriculture disciplines, mechanization and agriculture machinery, robots in agriculture, conservation agriculture were truly enlightening. And your address encourage us to think deeply about the opportunity, challenges, and strategic pathways for positioning India as a key contributor to the global agri-food systems.
Yes,
And
youngsters
we are
like you can
sincere.
achieve it. Youngsters
Yes,
can, like you can do it. That's the reason I'm always for first, anything for youngsters I'm willing to do. So we're willing to advise them do it.
and so
Thank
we
you.
are sincerely
Thanks.
grateful for your
Uh,
valuable time and rich experience and meaningful contribution, which has greatly enriched today's session. We really thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
And now we are deeply honored to welcome Dr. Jonah Kane Potaka, ma'am, who is the Executive Secretary of the Global Forum on Agriculture, Innovation and Research. Dr. Joanna is a globally respected leader in agriculture innovation and food system transformation and international policy engagement. With her extensive experience in fostering multi stakeholder partnerships, she has been at the forefront of driving inclusive, sustainable, and innovation lead agriculture development across the globe. In her role as Executive Secretary of GFAIR, Dr. Joanna plays a vital role in connecting governments, research institutions, development organizations, and the private sector to accelerate the transformation and agri food systems. Her work strongly emphasizes farmer centric innovation, gender equality, and also youth engagement, climate resilience, and the responsible use of emerging technologies in agriculture. Her visionary leadership and global perspective has significantly contributed to shaping dialogue and action on agriculture research, innovation, and policy at international platforms. Today, her presence with us adds immense value to this winter school training program, particularly as a deliberate on the theme of revolutionizing agri-systems through AI, digital tools, and green technologies. We are truly privileged to have Dr. Joanna Ma'am with us today, and we eagerly look forward to her valuable insight and guidance. We are truly honored to have you with us today, ma'am, and with great respect and pleasure, may I now invite Dr. Joanna Ma'am, Executive Secretary, GFAIR, to kindly take over the session, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Shakshi, and also to Just Agriculture. And welcome to everybody. We've got a lot of people online. I'll just share my presentation. Okay. Is that showing up clearly, Shakshi?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So you just heard some really very practical, very valuable insights, very much at a farm level. I'm going to talk much more at a macro level and overall approaches. And it's really relevant. It doesn't matter what discipline background you come from or area of work, because it really talks about bringing all the different areas together. And so, yes, and I'll talk about some alternate approaches. So, okay, so I'll just cover 3 overall areas. I want to talk about a triple bottom line approach to any of your work when you're in relation to agriculture and agri-food. And then I'll talk about more smart foods and driving demand. And then a very different approach again about empowering national systems and collective action approaches. So these are all sort of different approaches to agriculture and agri-food. So looking first at the triple bottom line. So in private industry, it was common back in about 1990 where it became a popular term and very popular to introduce a triple bottom line to companies where they don't only think about their profit, but they also think about their impact on people or society and on planet or the environment. And they saw many advantages to this, and they made decisions that took all those 3 areas into account. Now, if you apply that to agriculture and agri-food, then how that would look is you'd have, so an agri-food systems triple bottom line on the profit, well, right at the heart of it, of course, are the farmer livelihoods, how viable it is, how resilient is important nowadays given climate change and the need to be able to adapt to climate change. But also the whole value chain viability is important as well, because the farmer won't be viable if the whole value chain isn't viable too. So seeing that bigger picture. So that's sort of the profit when you apply it to agri-food systems. If you look at the planet, then it's about both sustainable agriculture and regenerative agriculture. The difference, I'm sure you all know, is that regenerative is also when you're actually trying to improve the soils and the environment. And that really is about climate change mitigation now is absolutely critical part of that, and the whole natural resource management. So the management of the soil, the water, and the biodiversity. And important not to forget the biodiversity because it often is. And then when you look at the people side, when you apply it to agri-food systems, then here it's about healthy food. So it's about the food being nutritious and healthy. It's about diets being diversified. And it's about healthy food being available, accessible, and affordable. And then cutting across all of this is the inclusiveness. So especially for women, the youth, and the more marginalized people. And that's relevant, has to be thought of in the profit, in the people, in the planet components. And it's all about a co-partnership approach, realizing this is about multiple stakeholders and how you engage all of them. But really most important across all of this triple bottom line is, if approaching any of this, it has to be done in unison. So you can't have a silo saying, I'll look just at the farmer viability. Well, you can, but it's not going to be as effective. Or you can't, because if you're looking only at, say, farmer viability, then you could be having negative impacts on the planet. And if you're only looking at the planet component, you may actually be not thinking about how healthy is the food that's being produced. So really, the value only comes if you look at all of these three areas in unison. And if you develop your solutions thinking of all of these areas in unison, and it really, whether you're in food processing, whether you're at farming end, whether you're in research, even if you're very specialized in one discipline, you still should be thinking about how this whole multidisciplinary approach is being impacted. That doesn't mean that you have to do everything, but you have to at least be aware the area that you're working in within this, how is this impacting any of these three areas? How's it impacting the triple bottom line? What are the trade-offs? Do you understand, if you're working in one area, how that may be impacting on how healthy the food is, or the environment, or the farmer livelihoods? So it's really, really important to not get too narrow in your own discipline or area of work and not understand the whole triple bottom line impact. That triple bottom line exists, but it's only going to be, we're going to have a positive impact if we're really conscious of the whole integration of all of this and the trade-offs and the impacts. But if you can develop solutions that in unison are looking at the whole triple bottom line, but taking that inclusive approach across everything, then we're going to get the best solutions in the end. It makes it more complicated, more complex, but it's a reality, this complexity, and so important to think about this in your area of work. So that was just like one overall approach about taking and thinking and being very conscious about that triple bottom line. The second area is looking at smart food and driving demand. So smart food is food actually that has naturally a triple bottom, a positive triple bottom line. So food that's good for you, so it's healthy and nutritious for the consumer. It's good for the planet, so it's more environmentally sustainable, and it's good for the farmer in that it might be more resilient, more adaptable to climate change situation. Now, if you really want to have a really big impact on the whole food system, and we know the food system needs a lot of work to improve it, we need different approaches. But if you really want to have a big impact, then staples are the way that you actually can have a bigger impact, because staples tend to be a large percentage of what's consumed. It's a large percentage of production. But we really need to be thinking about not only the existing staples being smarter, but also how we diversify the staples with smarter foods as well. And this is how we could have really big impact. But taking both these areas into account are critical, not just staying with the existing staples, but we'll go more into that. But I'll explain first the biggest challenge that we have in diversifying the staples. And it's what I call a food system divide. So basically, for decades, we've been having the vast majority of investment and support to the big three, rice and wheat, and now in India, maize is also becoming big, but it's been very big in other continents. So with the vast majority of investment, the government subsidies, the private industry investment, the product development, even the development aid, the majority has gone into the big three staples. So what happens with any divide, like an education divide or a digital divide, if you invest in something, then you can develop the value chains. You build the consumer awareness, more products are developed, and so it does well. When something does well, it attracts even more investment. So it does even better, so it attracts even more investment, and so on. And so now it's very, very difficult to diversify the staples because the big three have such strong, well-developed value chains and high consumer awareness and great product development, and they're extremely well subsidized. So it becomes very difficult to break in and break that divide and diversify the staples. So that becomes a really big challenge in having a smarter food system and getting that diversity on farm, diversity in the diet, and so on. And just some examples here. So rice, wheat, and maize account for 94% of all cereal consumption globally. I mean, that's huge. The same big three crops also deliver 60% of food energy globally, and 45% of private industry agricultural research investment is in just one crop, and that's maize. So these are really, really big statistics. Here's another one that showed the change in relative contribution of crops to our diet by calorie intake. And you could see the crops increasing the most were oils, wheat, and rice. And then the crops that decreased was sorghum, cassava, and millets. So a really big change in our diets. So what we used to say is if we really want to break that food system divide, you really could only do it if you focused on just one or two crops at a time, because you need to develop the consumer awareness, the consumer demand, the value chains, etc. So even though it's really important to look at overall diversity and biodiversity, and we still need to work on a huge range of different biodiversity, but as far as staples go, we really need to just focus on one or two and really try to build those value chains so that they can break that food system divide. And many years ago, we started with that hypothesis and working with millets and sorghum. And there was a whole movement started and a lot of different organizations. We all got behind this to see how could we really bring millets back, but bring them back as a staple as well. And you'd all be aware that eventually led to 2023 International Year of Millets. And a lot of work was done by a lot of people. And of course, India was leading that globally and did an amazing job. But I will say that it was great success. Without any doubt, there was a huge increase of millet products on the market, a huge increase in awareness about millets, and lots of initiatives, and globally too, not just in India, even though really the big movement was in India. However, we've still got a long way to go. It just shows the complexity of really building new markets. Because if you look at production of millets in India, it really hasn't increased. There's more products on the market, but at the farmer end, they're still not feeling incentivized enough to grow the millet. So at the time, we really worked on driving demand, and that was definitely the need at that time, because we wouldn't even want to try to have farmers grow more if we're not driving the demand first. And so there was a need for that. And there was a huge explosion of millet products come on the market as a result. And working with the food processors, we did a lot of work there. Many people did. But we're really at a stage now where we still need to drive demand and the products, but we need to balance that also with really understanding what is going to incentivize the farmers more to increase production as well. So working at both ends is still needed. But just a little more about millets and why these were really selected as the big focus. If you look at finger millet or ragi, it's got 3 times the amount of calcium as milk, which is absolutely massive. And we looked also at the bioavailability, and it's almost the same as milk. So it really means you really will get 3 times the amount of calcium from ragi, which traditionally was used as a weaning product for babies because of that high calcium. And it's really, that's so exceptional. I mean, that figure, I don't know how to impress enough how absolutely massive that is to get 3 times the amount of calcium compared to milk. Of course, the millets are also low in glycemic index. So, and we've done a lot of studies. We did systematic reviews and meta-analyses to show that the millets can reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes because of that low GI. And of course, with diabetes is increasing exponentially globally. I think India is now, the number 1 country for number of people with diabetes. And every region in the world is increasing with numbers of people with diabetes. Also, through our systematic reviews and meta-analyses, we also showed that consuming millets can reduce cholesterol or reduce the bad cholesterols. So that's really important, and especially as we know the whole cardiovascular diseases are increasing significantly globally. Many of the millets are really, really high in iron and zinc. Plus, our studies showed that consuming millets also did reduce anemia. Anemia and iron, low iron is one of the top 3 micronutrient deficiencies globally. So it's particularly important, a really big need. We know in India, anemia has been increasing and particularly high in adolescent girls and young women, particularly important. And the millets have such high levels of iron and zinc. And even though plant-based micronutrients are absorbed less than meat-based micronutrients, if you get the right varieties and the right millets, the iron is so high, you can pretty much get your whole daily iron requirement just from a normal serving of millet. So it's particularly high. It's really good. Also, the millets can be very high in dietary fiber, high in antioxidants, and gluten-free. So these are just some of the key aspects from the nutrition and health value, which is really exceptional. They really